a lot of, there's some positive we can take from this. I mean, you don't want to lose 2 games in the border war, but you also see a program that has 3 years of building habits, and you got a program that's in year one, and year one's not year one, it's like year zero. And so, we're close, not close enough, but I think we can take some good things away from that. I mean, the last 25 minutes of that game, I mean, the defensive intensity, the defensive effort was right. You can't spot a team like that and give them credit for coming out with a strong start. But you can't spot them an 18-point lead. I mean, then you're starting to try to dig yourself out of a hole and give my guys, especially that last group, the last 5 minutes that really started it with Quan and Drake and X and Maldo and Graham, that really scratched and clawed and found ways to get stops there the last 5 minutes of the first half, which allowed us to kind of get the game manageable. And then in the second half, that carried over. And you probably look at the last 25 minutes of that game, they probably, they shot under 40% and, gave ourselves a chance. But the first 15 minutes, I mean, you can't spot a team like that, an 18-point lead. And it was unfortunate. Marcus was fighting a stomach ailment. He wasn't quite right. And he tried to fight through it, took some medicine. But, obviously, he wasn't himself. He had that stretch in the second half that was really good. But, I just thought that, we did take a step in the right direction defensively. Now it's a matter of you got to do it against good teams for 40 minutes. And if we can figure that out, we're going to have a chance. But unfortunately, that's the reality of right now. And but these young guys, this young team, I mean, they're scratching and clawing, and they're getting better. And that's the thing I told them is you just got to stick together. This is the easy time right now to kind of pull apart or listen to outside noises. And but this is where you got to understand you got to go through some of these to end up becoming a winning program and developing a winning culture. It's just part of it. I've been there, done that many of times, whether as an assistant coach or a head coach. I mean, year ones are tough, but you got to figure out too who you can lose with. You got to figure out the character of your team to where now you can have the guys that allow you to win against good teams, and that ultimately comes down to the character of your team. And so those guys, like I said, they feel bad. They don't want to lose, but at the same time, they got to know that they are pushing in the right direction, and they better not feel sorry for themselves because you got a really good Utah State team coming up next. Davis.
Jeff, to hold them without a field goal for about 8-minute stretch there in the second half, what was working defensively, and then maybe what wasn't working offensively that didn't allow you guys to get over the hump at the end?
I mean, I think our ball pressure was first and foremost, and we did a good job pressuring the ball. I mean, forced them into 17 turnovers. And then offensively, I mean, down that stretch, I mean, we had some open looks, just a matter of whether you make them or not. And that's my job is to make sure I try to put them in a position to make shots or get them good shots. And then, they got to make them. And we made some to get us back in the game, but then down the stretch, when you have to put forth that much energy and effort to get back into the game, I mean, that's what happens a lot of times. Teams fall short, but I'll give credit to my guys for giving themselves a chance. Michael.
Graham Ike had a stretch there late in the second half where I think he scored 9 straight points. He cut it down to 3 and down to 1 several times. Was this the best you've seen him look? And I believe this was his first start of the year. I'm curious what went into that decision for this one to be the time.
I mean, it's because it is time. I mean, when you watch him play, I mean, especially from a defensive standpoint, I mean, it just allows us to be so much better defensively. I mean, and then you have the ability to, get the ball inside and then the ability to force teams to either double or rotate. And you're talking about a guy that's hasn't played basketball in 14 months. And now we're sitting here thinking that, he needs to come out every game and get a double-double when he hasn't done anything. I mean, he just got cleared 3 weeks ago. I mean, so for him to do what he's doing now at this level, and it's not like he came out and he's faced San Diego, he faced Nevada, he faced San Diego State, he faced Colorado State. So for him to be cutting his teeth against that type of competition and to do what he's doing, and he's only going to get better. And his conditioning at time, I said, but who wouldn't be out of shape? And so he's got a bright future. There's a reason why I recruited him so hard. Because I just knew that, the type of player he could be. And there's not a lot of guys in college basketball where you throw them down on that block and you can score or you can make things happen. And to have a guy like that, and we have to, we had to adjust. I mean, you don't have a guy like that for the first how many months of the season, and then you add him to the mix. Now our guys, I mean, they're not quite used to looking to throw the ball inside, whether that's to Maldo on a dribble down or a post up maybe. So now you got to adjust a little bit. So now you see the guys are trying to figure out, okay, how do I feed the post? And those are some of the things that we're just going to have to learn on the fly. But man, he's got a chance to be a special player. Cody.
Thursday night, Drake Jeffries missed a really big three there at the end, and he took it very seriously. He came out here and shot threes for like an hour after the game. How great was that to see his bounce back today and him find some buckets and him getting a little bit of a rhythm?
I mean, that's who he is. I mean, he cares. I mean, he cares enough to where it hurt, and he knew that, even though he didn't let the team down, and he felt like he did. And so he could feel sorry for himself, or he can just get back in the gym, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to care. And so, you got to find a way to kind of get yourself out of that slump. And I was glad for him to see that ball kind of go in a few times tonight. He had a couple down the stretch he probably wish he could have back, but that's you can, those are the type of guys you want in your program. I mean, you don't want the guys that, after they have a bad game, go back to their apartment, feel sorry for themselves, let people tell them that, they're getting screwed. And at the end of the day, I mean, he took it upon himself to look in the mirror and figure, hey, I got to do more. And that's what our program is going to be built around, is guys like that.
Jeff, any concern about this team's ability to sort of bounce back in a short week after two really close losses that might be a little more emotional than other games?
I mean, last time I checked for the general public, and nobody wakes up every morning at 100%. I mean, it's not like I wake up every morning feeling 100%. But what the reality of it is that you're never going to be 100%. And the people that are successful in life, the ones that when they're 75, 80%, they still get up and they do the work. And so, I mean, we can sit here and feel sorry for ourselves, but I mean, that's we're not going to allow that as a staff. Not going to allow the players to, and that's right now. I mean, we got to lead the players. I mean, that's my job. That's our coach's staff job, is to not let them feel sorry for themselves. And that's like the reality. I mean, I don't think anybody thought coming in this year we were going to win the league. But our job is to build the habits that are going to allow us to put ourselves in a position, in the near future to do that. And like I said, that's a program right now that's in year 3. We're year 1. We're not that far off, but allow us to have time to where we can build the habits through playing 5-on-5 in practice, to competing every day when you have 14, 15, 16 players. And we'll see what happens.